Humanity's impossible choice. The chamber of the United Earth Council was eerily silent, except for the occasional hum of the overhead lights and the soft rustling of fabric as diplomats shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The massive holographic screen at the front displayed the stern, otherworldly face of High Chancellor Varys of the Galactic Dominion. His emerald-tinted skin shimmered faintly, and his four eyes blinked in unsettling synchronization as he gazed upon the assembled human representatives. "The terms are not negotiable," Varys declared, his voice carrying the weight of millennia of dominance. "Earth, as a newly recognized spacefaring civilization, must pay its tribute. This is the way it has been for 10,000 years. Comply, and the Dominion shall extend its protection. Resist." His words trailed off ominously, leaving the implied threat hanging over the room. At the central podium, Ambassador Daniel Carter remained composed. His dark suit was crisp, his posture unwavering, but there was a steel edge to his voice as he responded. "High Chancellor, we recognize the traditions of the Dominion, but your demands." He gestured to the data tablet before him. "Are unreasonable. You demand not only rare minerals like neodymium and dysprosium, but also unrestricted access to Earth's research in quantum field manipulation." He let the words settle, watching the gathered alien envoys on the holographic council call. Some remained impassive, others exchanged knowing glances. "Humanity is willing to cooperate," Carter continued, "but surrendering our most advanced scientific research would cripple our progress. We request a revised agreement." The High Chancellor's face twisted into something that might have been amusement or disdain. "Every civilization before you has faced this moment. Those who submitted prospered under our guidance. Those who resisted." He let out a slow, deliberate breath. "They are no longer here." A murmur spread through the chamber. Behind Carter, General Evelyn Grant, Earth's highest-ranking military official, sat with her arms crossed, her expression like carved stone. She whispered something to Dr. Isaac Monroe, Earth's leading physicist, who was furiously scribbling on his tablet. The Chancellor's eyes glowed faintly, a sign of his species' agitation. "You have one standard month," he stated coldly. "Prepare your tribute. If you fail, Earth will be corrected." With that, the transmission cut off, leaving the chamber in a heavy silence. The hidden threat. Carter exhaled slowly and turned to face the assembled world leaders, military strategists, and top scientists. "Ladies and gentlemen, we need options." A murmur of conversation erupted. Some called for submission, others for defiance, but General Grant's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "We all know what this really is," she said, standing up. "It's not tribute, it's suppression." Dr. Monroe adjusted his glasses and projected a holographic chart onto the center table. "Look at this." A series of graphs appeared, each displaying the technological progression of civilizations that had joined the Galactic Dominion. The trend was unmistakable. Every species' scientific advancements had plateaued within a decade of joining. "It's deliberate," Monroe explained. "The Dominion isn't just taxing resources. They're stunting scientific growth. Look at what they're demanding from us. Rare earth minerals crucial to our research in high-energy physics. Without them, we'll never advance beyond our current level." Grant's expression hardened. "They're ensuring no species ever surpasses them." Ambassador Carter ran a hand through his graying hair. "If that's true, then surrendering this research would mean the death of human progress." A long silence followed. "A dangerous proposal." Then Monroe spoke. "What if we gave them what they want?" All eyes turned to him. "Elaborate," Carter said. Monroe cleared his throat. "We can create fake data, convincing research that looks real but leads nowhere." "And the minerals?" Grant asked. Monroe hesitated before replying. "We substitute them with something chemically similar. It would take years for them to detect the deception, if they ever do." Carter folded his arms. "That's a gamble." "So is open war," Grant countered. "If we refuse outright, they'll come in force." A tense silence followed. Then Carter took a deep breath. Then we deceive them. We play the part of the obedient species, but behind closed doors, we double our efforts. We develop new technology in secret. We prepare for the day they realize the truth. Grant nodded. We don't just prepare. We find out what they don't want us to know. Monroe tapped his tablet. There are patterns in Dominion-controlled space, gaps in their surveillance, uncharted regions even they seem to avoid. If we can find out why. A flicker of hope stirred in the room. Carter straightened. Then we have no choice. We buy time. We deceive them. And when the moment comes, he met Grant's gaze. We make sure humanity is ready. The vote was unanimous. The first step of rebellion. The following days were a whirlwind of covert operations. Teams of scientists worked tirelessly to fabricate convincing but flawed research. Engineers designed substitute materials to match the mineral shipments. Meanwhile, a separate operation began in secret, a mission to uncover what the Dominion truly feared. Hidden among the freight ships departing Earth, an unmarked stealth vessel set out towards the dark zones of Dominion space. Inside, a small crew of elite scientists and soldiers braced themselves for the unknown. As Earth publicly played the part of the submissive new species, humanity's real fight was just beginning. Shadows in the void. The illusion of submission had begun. As Earth's diplomats publicly complied with the Dominion's tribute demands, a silent rebellion moved into action beneath the surface. In the depths of space, where the Dominion's control waned, a single human vessel slipped into the void. The UES Obsidian, a state-of-the-art stealth reconnaissance ship, was more than just an ordinary vessel. It was humanity's first true act of defiance. Its mission: to uncover the secrets the Dominion desperately wanted hidden. As the ship sped away from Earth's monitored space, Captain Elias Voss sat in the command chair, his piercing blue eyes scanning the tactical display. Around him, the bridge crew moved with careful precision. They were the best Earth had, handpicked for a mission so dangerous. Failure meant death. "Time to the Shadow Zone," Voss asked. At the navigation station, Lieutenant Reena Patil checked the calculations. 6 hours at current velocity. Dominion patrols have predictable routes. We'll slip through unnoticed. Voss nodded. They had a small window of opportunity before the Dominion realized their little expedition. And when they did, they wouldn't be pleased. The fabrication of submission. Back on Earth, the deception was in full swing. Deep within the Rocky Mountain Research Complex, a team of top scientists worked tirelessly to create convincing yet flawed data on quantum field manipulation. Dr. Isaac Monroe, head of the Covert Research Initiative, sat hunched over his console, sweat beading on his forehead as he made final modifications to the gifted technology Earth would send to the Dominion. His assistant, Dr. Evelyn Torres, leaned over his shoulder. "This will fool them," she asked, skepticism clear in her voice. Monroe exhaled. "Long enough for us to catch up." The research Earth provided had to look real, even brilliant, but it needed to lead nowhere. Behind closed doors, however, Monroe and his team pursued the true breakthrough, one that could change the balance of power forever. "How's the drive prototype?" he asked. Torres smirked. "Still theoretical, but if it works, it'll make Dominion FTL tech look like a horse and buggy." Monroe felt a surge of pride. Humanity wasn't just surviving. They were accelerating. The Dominion wanted to suppress them, but Earth was already steps ahead. Ghosts in the dark. Meanwhile, the UES Obsidian drifted toward the Shadow Zone, a region of space curiously absent from Dominion star charts. Dominion vessels rarely patrolled the area. Trade routes avoided it, as if something was there, but wasn't meant to be found. "Approaching the perimeter," Patil announced. Voss leaned forward. "What do the sensors say?" Silence. The ship's advanced quantum scanners should have picked up background radiation, distant stars, something. But the void beyond was empty. Too empty. "This isn't natural," said Lieutenant Marcus Hale, the ship's chief engineer. There should be cosmic noise, background signals, distant pulsars. But I'm reading nothing. A strange, unsettling quiet settled over the bridge. Passive scans only, Voss ordered. We don't want to light up on Dominion sensors. The ship crept forward, pushing into the unnatural void. The crew held their breath, eyes locked on their displays. Then, something appeared. Not on their sensors, but visually. A massive structure, hidden in the dark. A station, built into the heart of an asteroid field. It was ancient, far older than any Dominion architecture they had encountered. Its metallic hull was scarred from centuries, possibly millennia, of exposure to space. Strange, angular protrusions jutted out, unlike any known shipyard designs. And at its core, a pulsing energy signature. Patel's fingers danced over her console. That power reading is massive, Captain. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Voss narrowed his eyes. This is why the Dominion doesn't want anyone poking around. A forgotten weapon. As the obsidian drifted closer, the mystery deepened. Hale frowned at his screen. This isn't a Dominion station. The architecture, this is something else. Patel looked at Voss. Permission to get closer. Voss hesitated. Every instinct screamed that they were standing on the precipice of something huge. But caution was key. Approach slowly. We don't. Alarms blared. A new signal appeared, not from the station, but from the void behind them. A Dominion warship. The hunter becomes the hunted. They found us, Hale muttered, gripping the edges of his console. How? Patel whispered, fear creeping into her voice. Voss didn't have time to wonder. The Dominion vessel, sleek and deadly, was closing in fast. Evasive maneuvers, he barked. Get us behind that asteroid field. The obsidian lurched as Patel threw it into a sharp banking maneuver, streaking toward the unknown station. A bolt of searing plasma missed their stern by meters. Shields holding, Hale shouted, fingers flying over his console. Voss's mind raced. They couldn't leave the Dominion back to Earth. They had to disappear. A desperate gamble. Options, he demanded. Patel's fingers flew across the navigation panel. We can't outrun them. Not in open space. Hale's eyes flickered toward the station. We could. Go inside. Silence. It was madness. They had no idea what was inside that station. But outside, certain death. Voss clenched his jaw. Do it. The obsidian surged forward, barreling toward the ancient structure. The Dominion ship hesitated. They didn't dare follow. Why? As the obsidian passed through the gaping hangar bay, the answer became chillingly clear. Inside the station, dormant for eons, something stirred. And the Dominion, for all their power, feared it. The awakening of the lost. A forgotten graveyard. The UES Obsidian plunged into darkness as it entered the massive alien station, barely escaping the Dominion warship's line of fire. The moment they crossed the threshold, a strange energy field rippled across the hull, making the ship's systems flicker. Inside, the crew was met with a sight that sent a chill through their bones. The station's hangar was immense, large enough to house an entire fleet. Strange metallic structures, jagged and alien, loomed around them. The walls, though ancient and covered in the dust of millennia, still pulsed with a faint blue luminescence, as if the station itself was asleep. But the most unnerving part was the wreckage. Scattered across the hangar bay were derelict ships, their hulls scorched and twisted. Some bore markings of long-dead civilizations, their insignias faded with time. Others were entirely unrecognizable, their designs unlike anything in known space. This isn't just a station, whispered Lieutenant Rena Petal from the navigation console. It's a graveyard. Captain Elias Voss narrowed his eyes as he surveyed the field of broken vessels. If the Dominion fears this place, then there's a reason, he muttered, and they were about to find out why. The Silent Guardian. Status report, Voss ordered. Lieutenant Marcus Hale, The ship's chief engineer tapped furiously at his console. "Something's interfering with our sensors, Captain. We can't scan deeper into the station. It's like we're flying blind." Voss cursed under his breath. They had no idea what lay ahead. "All right," he said. "Lock the ship down. We need to explore." The moment he said it, the lights flickered. The hum of the station changed, not louder, but different, as if something deep within its structure had just reactivated. Then came the first sign of movement. A faint mechanical whir echoed through the cavernous hangar. Shadows stretched unnaturally against the dim glow of the station's interior. Then a figure stepped forward. At first, it seemed humanoid, tall, armored, and ancient. But as it moved, its mechanical limbs whined, revealing its true nature. A machine. A guardian. Its head tilted, and for a moment, there was only silence. Then, identifying foreign presence. The voice, though clearly artificial, carried an eerie echo of intelligence. The crew tensed, hands hovering over weapons. "Identify yourselves." A dangerous introduction. Voss took a slow breath. "I am Captain Ilias Voss of the United Earth ship Obsidian. We mean no harm. We're explorers." The mechanical figure remained still, its eye-like sensors glowing with shifting patterns of light. Then it spoke again. "Explorers. Classification. Unrecognized species." It turned its head slightly as if assessing them. "Designation. Humanity. Status. Predecessor anomaly." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. "Predecessor," Patel whispered. "What does that mean?" Before they could ask, the Guardian stepped forward. "You have entered the Vault of the Vanished. Your arrival marks the first recorded breach in 12,374 cycles. Your species is not accounted for. Explain your presence." Hale frowned. "Vault of the Vanished." He ran a hand through his hair. "That's not ominous at all." Voss ignored him. "We were being pursued by the Dominion. We needed refuge." He hesitated before adding, "They fear this place." "Why?" The Guardian's lights pulsed. "The Dominion. Entity. Suppressors." For the first time, the machine's voice seemed to carry emotion, or at least the echo of something ancient and bitter. "The suppressors maintain control. They ensure no civilization surpasses their limits, just as they once tried with us." A chill spread through the crew. The truth buried in shadows. Patel's hands clenched at her sides. "You mean there were others like us?" The Guardian turned its glowing gaze to her. "Before the Dominion, there were others. Empires. Nations that reached beyond the boundaries of known physics. Those who sought to ascend disappeared." It motioned toward the wreckage. "Some resisted. They perished." Hale exhaled slowly. "The Dominion didn't just suppress them. They erased them." The Guardian nodded. "Your people stand at the threshold of the same fate." A choice that changed everything. Voss's mind raced. The Dominion didn't just tax planets. They were executing a long-term strategy of control, keeping civilizations in check. Humanity wasn't just being tested. They were being contained. And now they were standing in the remains of those who had tried to break free. Voss looked at the Guardian. "You were part of that resistance, weren't you?" The machine was silent for a long time. Then, "We were the last. We were the strongest. But even we fell." Something in its voice sent a cold shiver down Voss's spine. Then the Guardian's lights flashed brighter. "But you, your species, is different." The crew stiffened. "You are an anomaly." Voss frowned. "Explain." The Guardian stepped closer. "No species has ever reached this point so quickly." It gestured toward their ship. "You are not bound by the same limitations as those before. Your nature, your will to push beyond constraints, is unique." Its gaze intensified. "The Dominion fears you for a reason." The awakening. Suddenly, the station shuddered. Warning lights flared to life across the hangar. The Obsidian's comms cracked. "Captain, Dominion ship outside is transmitting." The station's deep core began to pulse. And then, the Guardian did something none of them expected. It knelt before Voss. "Humanity has a choice." Its voice became almost hopeful. "Will you continue the cycle of submission?" It reached out, and a holographic interface materialized in the air, filled with ancient knowledge, forgotten technology, and something else, a blueprint, a weapon. "Or will you finish what we could not?" Silence. Voss took a step forward, and with one final breath, he reached out. And the station awakened.